good afternoon and welcome live to Monza for the first of 20 races in the 2005 World Touring Car Championship. Eduardo de Freitas waves off the grid in front of packed grandstands here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. 2 races this afternoon for the first of 10 race weekends in this brand new World Touring Car Championship format. Good afternoon, I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me is our hero of speed, David Leslie, the man who makes sense of all the options that the teams have on their plate today. David Leslie, BMW a little bit surprised as much as Alfa Romeo and us that they were fastest in qualifying in yesterday's cold, damp session. But today the temperature's a little higher, maybe some 15 degrees more track temperature, even though Monza is still a pretty frigid place. Expect to see the Reds wedge back on form in race trim?
I definitely think so. The Alfa Romeos, they said they were disappointed that they weren't on the front row. We, along with everybody else, we expect them to be there. They were expecting to be there. They're not quite sure why they're not. BMW said, well, we'll take it anyway, thank you very much. We'll have the front row with, which one is it? Dirk Muller and Garcia on the front row, so they're there. But these red cars, these Alfa Romeos, they are very quick in a straight line. They always have been. This is a power circuit. This is all about having power, all about having grunt. So you got the BMWs and Alfa Romeos up front, you've got the Seats following on in behind that, and then immediately after that you've got quite a variation of cars going all the way back towards the back of the grid. You've got some of the new cars arriving here this year, the Chevrolets and the Ford Focus. Very big grid, 33 starters and 33 cars going into that first corner. Is going to be extremely exciting indeed.
Certainly is, and the critical thing here for every single one of those drivers will be to score points, because with the close scoring system that they use here, it will be very difficult indeed to catch a rival who has a successful weekend if you fail to score points. Well, the best non-Big Three car, by which we mean non-BMW, non-Alfa Romeo, non-Seat, that is Roberto Colciago starting in 11th place. He is in a Honda Accord. It's not officially backed by the Honda factory, built by Yas Motorsport, the Italian team that for so many years have been building Hondas for racing and for customers. But it is likely to be BMW and Alfa Romeo here. Seat willingly will volunteer the information that they are still short on horsepower against the big two. And even BMW, I think, aren't entirely convinced that they've managed to catch horsepower stakes leaders Alfa Romeo completely here. On-board camera with the number 3 car, James Thompson, double British Touring Car champion, won it in 2002 and 2004, first time as a factory driver for the full season with Alfa Romeo. The headlight bumper cam you saw, that was of Andy Priaulx, our reigning European Touring Car champion, and the man who hopes to convert his European win into a world win. Ricard Rydell, he's the best placed of the Seats, and he will start in 9th position, the factory Seat Toledo trio. He, Marc Genet, and newcomer from Germany, Peter Terting, 20-year-old youngster from the German Production Saloon Car Championship. And the grid bolstered this year by 2 brand new Ford Focuses, by a trio of factory Chevy Lachettis, as well as more Hondas and more privateer Alfa Romeos and Seats as well. We expect to see Peugeot later in the season with a new 407 that's being developed in France, and that's going to be a bigger car than most that you see on the grid at the moment. But the new Alfa Romeo that comes next year will also be a bigger car. And of course BMW with their formidable 3 Series up against Alfa Romeo's equally exciting and aggressive 156. Pole sitter is Dirk Muller, Antonio Garcia alongside in another BMW, then Gabriele Tarquini, who 2 years ago was the European champion, and Augusto Farfus Jr., who won here at Monza last year. Dr. Mario Tyson, with many, many thousands, if not millions, watching with anticipation this first of a new breed of World Touring Car Championships. Of course, Roberto Lavaglia won for BMW the first ever World Touring Car Championship in 1987. He runs Antonio Garcia's car and that of Alex Zanardi for BMW Italia Spain. But all eyes are on the starter. Eduardo de Freitas will flick the switch, and when they get the lights off, away they go. Pole sitter is Dirk Muller. Good start from Garcia. Tarquini looking to move in. Andy Priaulx as well, very quickly away. And behind the 2 Alfas are Fabrizio Giovanardi and James Thompson. And there is the view from the bumper cam of Andy Priaulx. He's behind one of the Alfas in the queue down to the first corner, and that'll be Augusto Farfus Jr. Tarquini's into second, gets a little nudge on Dirk Muller, the pole sitter, and from Antonio Garcia, whose car shattered a brake disc in the morning warm-up there. And Andy Prio, well, he was hoping to avoid trouble on the first lap. He's been pushed back a couple of places, but he's still going, the reigning European Touring Car champion. And Augusto Farfus coming around the outside of Gabriele Tarquini. Tarquini a little wrong-footed coming out of the chicane after that clash with Garcia, and Farfus moves up into third. The young Brazilian built a reputation last year for speed and fragility of mind. He clashed with his teammates and his rivals on a number of occasions, and he's certainly going to be one that everybody will be watching with very great interest. Behind them, the best of the Seats, Ricard Rydell and Jordi Hane. It looked like Hane got away quicker from the grid to go up ahead of Andy Prio. So it's Dirk Muller who leads this opening lap. He was thrilled yesterday, David, to get pole position in his first ever World Championship race of any kind and his first World Touring Car outing, and he looks determined to make the best of it. But already Antonio Garcia showing great form, and Andy Prio taking that position back. It's from Ricard Rydell, in fact. Seats so far only European Touring Car race winner and a former British Touring Car champion as well. So the BMWs, the Alphas and the Seats in race trim looking to be pretty close to each other.
Very much so. The BMW was just so pleased to be out there, but here we've got an in-car camera from Rydell looking at Prio. Prio's just making sure he's keeping him behind, doesn't let him come down the inside, but Prio now needs to move away from this group and try and catch the four people in front of him. And there's some...
Oh, it's breaking loose behind. That was Thompson and Rydell, the Seat of Thompson and Rydell and Thompson in the Alpha, but further behind them, more carnage. The number 15 car, the onboard camera with the Ford of Thomas Jaeger, one of the new shaped Ford Focuses. Yellow flags at the first corner. Well, that's for something that we didn't see. Who's being dragged away from there? Let's pan down with the camera. No, we can't quite see it. It must have been one of the tail enders. There is Gabriele Tarquini, second, number 2 on the car, but let's have a look here. Well, there's Thompson and Rydell. Let's see who tangles further back. It's Prio who's... that's Jörg Muller. Jörg Muller, who qualified second but lost his early qualifying times, including his fast lap, for failing to spot a light that makes you go into the weighbridge when you come into the pit lane. It's a random thing, and he missed that, lost his fast time. Thompson right up behind Rydell, tapping him there into the Roggia, but it's still Dirk Muller from Antonio Garcia. Then the two Alfa Romeos, Farfus leading Tarquini, and that was Giovanardi coming by inside Thompson. So James Thompson being eased to the back of the Alfa Romeo pack. Well, David Leslie, the Alfa Romeos normally and the Seats don't get away quite as quickly as the BMWs, but it looks like they've made strides there. That was Stefano D'Aste's car smoking after a collision off the grid. So maybe it was him that went off in the first corner.
It could be, whatever it is, it's long gone out of the way, and the race carries on, but very, very frantic up front. These Alfa Romeos now. Thompson slipped back behind Giovanardi. He got him off the line. He was ahead of him, and it looked very comfortable with the car between them, but Giovanardi's obviously got the bit between his teeth, and he wants to be up there along with the rest of them. So you've got these two BMWs in front, two Alfa Romeos, then you've got Andy Prio, then you've got the first of the Seats, then another two of the Alfa Romeos. So Alfa Romeos, all four cars right up there, and they just wanted to get as many points in the bag as possible towards the beginning of this season.
Well, the car smoking off the line, in fact, was Giuseppe Ciro. He's been pulled away from the first corner, and I'm looking to see if Jörg Muller is still running. He's shown us 22nd position. He started from 18th on the grid. We saw him go into the gravel at the Parabolica last lap, and still the battle is on. Garcia looking to try and make a move on Dirk Muller, and the BMW Italia Spain car that Garcia drives last year would rarely have been in this position. This year they're much more confident. There's Ricard Rydell versus Fabrizio Giovanardi. Gio with Tarquini behind him. Giovanardi won 8 titles in 8 years for Alfa Romeo before moving to BMW in 2003. Winless that year as the champion, winless bar once last year in 2004. He's won 1 race in 2 years. Fabrizio Giovanardi really needs to make up some ground. Roberto Colciago's Honda Accord is going backwards, and he's also been shown the black and white flag, which means we don't like your driving, cut it out or you'll be in the pits for a stiff word. Dirk Muller still leads. Jörg's car is in the gravel. Now, he must get back out on track. He can't afford to lose both races, David. Of course, the top 8 in each race, or in each first race, their positions are reversed for the grid of the second race. So 8th becomes first, first becomes 8th. But beyond that, where you finish is where you start race 2. So Jörg Muller has got to somehow get out and try and at least start race 2.
Yeah, if he can get himself out onto the circuit and go running around, well, if anyone else breaks down and he finishes, then he will pick up those positions and it won't start dead last on the second race. At this moment in time, sitting in that pits there, I would say he's on for being last at this moment in time. But the Snitzer boys working on the car, they know what they're looking for and they'll be trying to sort that out as quickly as possible. Looking at this, we can see that Andy Priaulx seems to be pulling away just that little bit from the 2 Alphas behind, so he's very much the man on his own. He's in 5th place at this moment in time.
Farfus inside Garcia, David into Parabolica, sorry about that, he's pushing the Spaniard out wide, and Antonio just about holding on to that one, but he'll lose so much speed, and he's even going further out on the grass. It's very, very slushy. 2 days of absolutely torrential rain, Friday and Saturday, have left the non-tarmac areas very, very tough indeed, and the BMWs, well, they're being split by the Alphas. It's now just Dirk Muller, and look at Tarquini having a look at Farfus there. The crowd in front of us in the grandstands are going absolutely mental as the Alphas come through 2nd and 3rd. But the reigning European champion behind the man he deposed. Now here's Farfus, gets inside in the Parabolica and runs out wide. Well, the problem there, I think, is that Garcia allowed him inside in the Parabolica, and there lies real disaster for him. He got onto the grass and just could not get off it. Kept his hoof in, but Priaulx got by. So too did Giovanardi, so it looks like Garcia is now between Giovanardi and Thompson on the road, and that will put him down in 7th place.
And what's good about this is that we see Andy's managed to pick his places up. He got himself away from the group behind and trying to catch the group in front, so he's now in a good 4th place. We spoke to him earlier on today and he was saying what he's looking for is a good points finish. He is the current European champion. He's the sort of man that everyone's got an aim to, a target for, and he knows he needs to keep his nose clean, make sure he just goes out and scores good points this weekend. And he's looking forward to trying to scoring good points in both races. He doesn't want to be involved in any incidents, he doesn't want any damage to the car, and he can certainly is quick with a bit of a toe. He knows he can be right with the Alfa Romeos, and he's just far enough back, he just can't quite hook onto the back of the Alphas at this moment in time, but he is certainly quick around the corners.
Just set his fastest lap of the race, a 1:59.553. Dirk Muller, the race leader, set the fastest lap of the race on lap 3, 1:59.552. 1/1000th of a second separating the speed of the 1st and 4th place BMWs, and they were both 0.6 to 0.7 of a second quicker on that lap alone than the 2 Alfa Romeos. Now in qualifying, the conditions were too cold. Alfa Romeo's cars struggling for front-end grip. The front-drive Alphas versus the rear-drive BMWs. Alphas must get the heat into their tyres in the race, and again Tarquini lining up from Priaulx's viewpoint. We can see him pulling out of the slipstream of Farfus to try and make a move down into the chicane for the first time, or the first chicane for the 4th time, and through he goes. Gabriele Tarquini, former British and Italian and European touring car champion, puts the move on his ex-Formula 3000 driving teammate Augusto Farfus Jr., and Priaulx is right with them. 4 laps completed. Andy Priaulx, the reigning European champion, closing in on the battle for 2nd. We'll be back with more in just a second. 5 laps completed halfway through the first World Touring Car Championship race of 2005, led by poleman Dirk Muller. Gabriele Tarquini, the 2003 European champion, in 2nd. Augusto Farfus Jr., winner here at Monza in both races last year, in 3rd. And Andy Priaulx, the reigning European Touring Car champion, closing in 4th place. But the BMW driver in the BMW UK car, BMW Great Britain renamed BMW UK on the 1st of April this year, after many, many years as trading and racing as BMW GB Limited. So BMW UK it is, with the familiar colours of the Union flag on the car of Andy Priaulx, run by Belgian Bart Mampé and his tiny close-knit team. engineered by Sam Wace. Andy Priaulx closing in now, still lapping 1:59s. The two Alphas at a 2-minute lap, 2:00.00 seconds, and still Dirk Muller, fastest man on the track, starting to ease away a little bit more. But 5 laps in, the pace is dropping a fraction. The tyres given of their best, and the stewards being very busy. About half a dozen drivers are being warned about their driving conduct here. Thomas Klenker pulling off the brand new shape Ford Focus and into retirement seemingly at the end of its first World Touring Car outing, and indeed his. Of course, everybody here in a new format in the World Touring Car Championship, David, but there are a host of new cars, and with those, of course, come new car problems. But look at the Seats now, bunched up behind the BMWs and the Alphas. 1, 2, 3, line astern, the factory Seat outfit. Rickard Rydell, the Swede, Jorge Canet, the Spaniard, and the newcomer in the team, Peter Terting, in 8th, 9th and 10th places, but right behind James Thompson, Antonio Garcia and Fabrizio Giovanardi. And of course, the top 8 on the grid are reversed, so the person in 8th place, in this instance Rydell, will start from pole position, but the guys who are right behind him now might be a centimetre behind at the line, but if you're 9th, you start 9th on the grid. So there's a real fight to get into the top 8, and you can see the Alphas right in front as we ride on board with the onboard camera in the Seat. And Priaulx making his move now for 3rd place on Farfus, as I fit my new teeth and try and remember what words come in the English language. Well, he's got the run through on the inside of Curva Grande, but Farfus holding the inside line there into the chicane at the Roggia, and it's dry enough now, David, that they can hold on there and hold that inside line. It's so wet yesterday, but today very different conditions, and Alfa Romeo back to their best.
Yeah, very much so. Yesterday when it was damp and the qualifying, it was actually a dry or nearly dry circuit. There was quite a lot of the bits of the circuit which still had little damp patches on it. It made life very difficult for a lot of the people for qualifying, and as we said earlier, Alfa Romeo were very disappointed they weren't on the front row. They were expecting very much to be there, as everyone else expected them to be there, but I think the cold conditions rather caught them by surprise, and they weren't actually on the front row. But they're right up there now. They're 2nd and 3rd place, but Andy Priaulx, who didn't have as good a qualifying as he'd hoped, because he didn't have a tow during qualifying. With these big long straights, if you have a good tow with somebody behind, you can gain up to a second a lap. Now, he had no one to work with because he doesn't have a teammate. All these other Alfa Romeos, they work together, all 4 of them. The BMWs work together, the 2 Mullers, Dirk and Jörg Muller, work together. They had a bit of a problem towards the end of the session when one of the Seat cars managed to get in their way and did their best to hold them back, or that's what they told us at the press conference afterwards. So making a big difference if he can actually get that tow. Andy's right up there in the race. He's getting the tow in the race, but unfortunately in practice he didn't, and he had to start that much further back.
Well, I'll tell you what, at the beginning of the race he would have taken a top 4 finish in race 1 and the chance to also finish in the top 4 in race 2. Dirk Muller from pole position, easing away to the extent of 2.5 seconds now over 2nd placed Alfa Romeo driver Gabriele Tarquini. This is Priaulx's viewpoint of Tarquini and Farfus. There is Rydell still hard at it, hammer and tongs with Hane, and they are right in the long train held up by Antonio Garcia. Garcia in 5th place now, 7.3 seconds behind the leader and 4 seconds behind Andy Priaulx. Garcia in his BMW, then Giovanardi, then Thompson, then Rydell, Hane, Terting and Zanardi on their tail as well. So from 5th down to 11th is the following pack, really. The leader is on his own. This is the chasing trio with Priaulx on the tail of Farfus at the moment, and looking as though he's ready to make a move on the Brazilian. Not between the 2 Lesmos. It's very enticing, but there's just not enough distance out of Lesmo 2 on the long run down to the Ascari chicane. That presents more of an overtaking opportunity, but it seems the Alphas are pretty good on the brakes now. The temperatures have started to come up in the track and therefore in their tyres. So Priaulx will have to play it a little bit craftily here the European champion. Well, there is Alain Menu, who's Chevy Lachetti you're looking at for the first time as a racing car. And Menu, former British touring car champion, been racing in a DTM the last 2 seasons with the splitter dragging on the ground. That car was heavily crashed in the closing stages of qualifying. Indeed, it caused a red flag that ended the qualifying session. Right behind him, Alex Zanardi, and right behind Zanardi is one of the new Hondas. That's Di Michele, the Italian production saloon car champion. Matteo Di Michele, and he is well, he had a crash during practice as well. Adriano Di Michele. Here's Alain Menu's onboard camera. We can look up at him. You can see the sequential gear shift, not a normal stick shift H pattern. Just pull back to change up the gears, push forward, and that little bicycle brake lever, that's to engage reverse. Andy Priaulx again looking at Farfus down into the first chicane, and the Brazilian David all over the road, middle of the road, defending heavily, way off the normal racing line, really feeling the pressure.
Without doubt, Andy's crawling all over the back of him. He's trying his best to get through. He's only got this lap to do it, and we're now on the last lap of the race already. And you know, Andy's trying every which way. He's trying to look to the right, look to the left, and he's just making Farfus as nervous as possible inside that car. And if he can just get him to be a little bit more nervous, just make one little mistake somewhere on the back of this circuit, then he will just nip through and take that place, and he'll have a third instead of a fourth. But as we said at the beginning, you know, Andy would have taken a fourth any time.
Priaulx, the only man lapping under 2 minutes around this track. 1 minute 59.96, just a whisker quicker than 2 minutes, but even Dirk Muller has settled down into a 2-minute 00 second lap. Same as Tarquini, same as Farfus, and Priaulx still trying to find a way past. Last lap, dramatics, I think he will avoid. If there is a gap, he'll take it, but he won't try and shoulder charge his way through. Race 1, job 1, get points on the board. He does not want to have the disastrous champions defence of getting no points to start the season. The Michael Schumacher year he could really live without. Dirk Muller leads. Gabriele Tarquini showing good pace in second. Farfus defending hard. He led from the front last year, Augusto Farfus, but the Alfa Romeo not the rocket sledge in comparison to everyone else that it was at the start of 2004. The BMWs have got the power pegs that they need, and as they come to the checkered flag, it'll be the pole sitter who leads, having never been challenged to the flag. Dirk Muller wins it. Tarquini in second, Farfus in third, Priaulx up to fourth place. That'll please him. Garcia fifth from second on the grid will be disappointed. Giovanardi and Thompson in their Alphas sixth and seventh. Rydell eighth place will be on pole for race 2. Hane, his teammate, ninth. Zanardi 10th. Terting 11th. Colciago's independent Honda in 12th place, and Mark Henrici from Germany in 13th position. A good run from him in a privately run BMW. But Dirk Muller with Dr. Mario Tyson on the right-hand side there in the Schnitzer garage, celebrating another win. He won 3 races last year and lost the championship on the tie-break to Andy Priaulx, who tied him on points in the very last race of 20, but had won 5 of the counters during the season. And so Dirk Muller lost out just on the tie-break to Andy Priaulx. But the podium then with 1 BMW and 2 Alfa Romeos, and that's a good result for the Bavarian Mark here in Monza. Last year you would have expected, and the year before, to have had 3 Alfa Romeos on the podium at the Monza Speedrome. We'll be back with more in a second. Welcome back live to Monza. Dirk Muller enjoying the fruits of success on the slowing down lap, the winner of the first touring car race in the World Championship for 2005. He claimed his first ever World Championship pole on Saturday and claims his first ever World Championship race win of any kind on Sunday. Augusto Farfus Jr. in third place. Second place, his teammate Gabriele Tarquini. So the Alphas and the BMWs, 2 of each in the top 4. Andy Priaulx taking 4th place, the reigning European champion. 5th place, Antonio Garcia for BMW. 6th, Fabrizio Giovanardi for Alfa. 7th, James Thompson for Alfa Romeo, and 8th, the first Seat in the top 8, Ricard Rydell. 9th place, Hody Canet for Seat, 10th, Alex Zanardi for BMW, Peter Terting 11th for Seat, Roberto Colciago, the first privateer in his Honda Accord Europe R, and that's a great result for the Yas Motorsport crew, unfunded by anybody other than themselves, developing the car themselves. But look at the Schnitzer boys. Charlie Lamb's crew know all about winning races. They won the first ever and so far only World Touring Car Championship back in 1987, and they are still winning races, have been doing in between many times as well. Guernseyman Andy Prio steps out of the car, and he will go and talk to Bart Mampai and Sam Wace, his team owner and engineer respectively, and Dr. Mario Tyson congratulating Dirk Muller. Dirk, who started his career as a factory driver with Porsche, racing 911 GT3Rs in the American Le Mans Series, and was soon picked up by BMW and has been with them ever since then. Well, very, very dramatic racing all the way down the order, from the winner to the tail of the field, and his teammate Jörg Muller couldn't have had a worse race. Jörg Muller coming in 29th place, only 3 cars failed to finish: Thomas Klenker, Vali Makala and Giuseppe Ciro. So 29th and last, Jörg Muller, after starting 18th and getting knocked off into the gravel in the Parabolica corner midway through the race. So very dramatically different fortunes for the 2 Schnitzer drivers. You can see here the 3 Chevrolet Lachetti, Chevrolet's first European venture in racing as an official factory outfit, their first World FIA Championship entry as well. Dave Bembo at the back of the picture with a clipboard, one of the 3 very experienced race engineers. Good job from the Schnitzer mechanics as ever. And the man who runs the team now effectively, you can see in the background there with the headset on, Charlie Lamb, a familiar figure on a pit wall across the globe. Started with the team as a T-boy and runner when he was still at school, and has risen through the ranks and has been their mastermind for many, many successful seasons. David, BMW and Alfa Romeo pretty much as we expected, with Seat snapping on their heels, but the disaster really for Jörg Muller, Championship Challenge, taking a severe knock in the very first race.
Yeah, that's not very good for Jörg. Jörg, obviously, having had his times disallowed during qualifying, found that extremely difficult, starting in the middle of the pack. Starting in the middle of the pack is where all the incidents usually are. And he ended up in yet another incident which left him a couple of laps down in last place. But here we see the results. First, Dirk Muller with a time of 18.303, a couple of seconds behind Tarquini. Fafos right behind that, and Andy Prio as close as you can get in 4th place. So carrying on through the results. Now remember, in the top 8 of these, as we said, that first page machine will be reversed. So we'll be starting with people like Rydell and Thompson, both ex-British touring car champions, starting on the front row. So whichever way you look at it, there are so many people that are able to do extremely well and go very well in this championship here. But as you said before, BMWs and Alfa Romeos right at the front. Seat, I think they'll be very pleased with that 8th place, because they were right there, right behind the BMWs and Alfa Romeos. They know they're not as quick on this circuit at Monza. When they get to the rest of the circuits where the handling comes more into it and it's not just pure power, they'll be much happier and feel that they'll be able to get a much better result from it. But at this moment in time, I'm sure they'll be very, very happy with where they ended up indeed in 8th, 9th and 10th place with their Seats.
Well, for British touring car fans, Rob Huff, who raced in the British Championship for Seat UK last year, the best of the Chevy Lachettis, beating his teammates Alain Menu. Rob Huff was 20th, Alain Menu 22nd, and Nicola Larini 24th. But Huff was behind Larini. He was behind Andrea, Nicola's younger brother, who's in a privateer Alfa Romeo. Well, here is the German national anthem for our winner, Dirk Muller. So German, an Italian and a Brazilian on the first World Touring Car podium for 2005. A very international entry. Ciao mama, or servus as it is in fact, because they're both speaking German into their handies. Dirk Müller on the top step of the podium then. BMW and Alfa Romeo, two of Europe's strongest touring car manufacturers in history. And this just, David, rejoins a battle that existed through the 60s, the 70s and the 80s in European and World Touring Car Championship racing. The Auto Delta Alfa Romeo team versus the might of BMW AG, and so it continues. Seat, relative newcomers, of course, former World Rally champions in the Formula 2, the front drive category. Chevrolet, well, what haven't they raced in recent years? Sports car fanatics will know, of course, their successes at Le Mans and in the American Le Mans series, and they a little further back down the order. And the Hondas and the Fords as well that help make up the grid. The top privateer, incidentally, was, we did mention that, Roberto Colciago in 10th position from 11th on the grid in his Honda Accord Euro R. Dr. Mario Tyson takes the manufacturer's trophy for race 1 as our drivers celebrate. Now, they now have a period in which to, well, tidy up the cars, fix the cars, adjust the cars as necessary if they possibly can. There is our Independence Trophy winner as well on the podium. In fact, that's a man with a BMW logo on, so I may possibly... well, that's Mark Enerizzi, but I would have thought that Roberto Colciago... no, he's not entered as an independent, is he? No, that's right. So Enerizzi then, although the Colciago's Yas Motorsport car is not factory funded or supported, he's not registered as an independent. So Enerizzi, the German driver, taking the Independence Trophy as well. Well, as well as taking a look at the highlights, we're also going to show you highlights of the FIA GT counter today and the Maserati Trofeo. But Jörg Müller there being pushed off into the gravel at the Parabolica, a corner that's so vital here at Monza for holding your line. Andy Priaulx, the reigning European champion, chasing two Alfa Romeos. Alain Menu, former British touring car champion, in trouble in his Chevy Lachetti. But Dirk Müller lights to flag, copybook stuff. From 8th on the grid, he'll be hard-pressed to win race 2, though, because one thing that race 1 of the series has told us is exactly what we expected, David Leslie. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough to win this first Touring Car World Championship of the 21st century. Yeah,
everything's moved on a little bit. It was a European Championship last year. It's now moved on to a World Championship. We've moved up to World Championship status, and that's the effort that's being put into this at the moment. So it's going to be very difficult for anyone to get there, but definitely hard.
First of all, congratulations. This must be a historical moment for you. It's the first race ever of the World Touring Car Championship, and you've won it. Tell me a little bit how you feel.
I'm really excited at the moment. I mean, to be on pole yesterday and to finish the first race on the first position, to win it is amazing, and I'm really happy. We worked quite hard over the whole winter time to improve also, you know, E46 for the last championship, and I mean, for me it's great, really great to win it.
It's been a pretty great weekend, pretty perfect, I'd say, for you. Does this make it all the more perfect because last year you were so disappointed coming so close to the European Championship?
I mean, we had a couple of test days over here, and I left the last test with a brilliant car, and we didn't touch it. And yesterday in qualifying, when it was dry for the first time, it was still perfect. And I mean, I have to say congratulations to my team. They gave me a brilliant car, and I was lucky in the first couple of laps to escape from the slipstreaming. And then towards the end, it was just controlling the field, and I'm really happy.
Thank you.
Not much more you can say, really. Delighted to have started on pole and delighted to have kept his head and done exactly what he had hoped he'd be able to do, lead the race to the checkered flag. So 9 laps only around this track, but enough for Dirk Müller to stamp his authority.
Gabriele Tarquini, well, for the first race of the World Touring Car Championship, was Dirk Müller untouchable, and how was it for you?
Yeah, I think it was uncatchable for everybody, especially for me, because he was alone without any slipstream, and he was able to finish first without any problem controlling the race. So for us, it will be also our job.
Thank you.
Well, Gabriele Tarquini managed to get past his teammate Augusto Farfus, and Tarquini sixth on the grid, sixth fastest in the morning warm-up rather, and in fourth place on the grid. That's a good result for him, up into second place.
Augusto Farfus Jr., so it was quite an eventful race for you. Can you tell us a little bit what happened at the beginning with Antonio Garcia and how you got up to third place?
You know, at the beginning it was pretty hard to be on the slipstream of Garcia, and then I think he did a little mistake in Ascari corner, and then I got his slipstream, and then in the end of the last straight, I was inside, overtook him, and I didn't touch him. It was a quite tight overtake, but was pretty good, pretty nice. I don't know what happened with him, but then it was turf, and that was all.
Thank you.
Well, I have to say, certainly the racing looked very fair and very clean, David. I don't think anybody's got any objections about that so far. Not that we saw on camera. There were a couple of clashes further back and a couple of people given an early warning about their driving. But I mean, the most important thing, I think, for all the manufacturers, all the drivers, is that this is a clean and well-fought championship all the way through to the end. It would be an absolute calumny, a disaster to see this decided by rogue tactics on track. And I think that's something that everybody is determined to try and avoid. Huge crowds here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. The cars all standing there as in Parc Fermé. Here's Jörg Müller. Well, a wry little smile on his face, of course. Lost his second place on the grid because of a weighbridge infraction. What happens is you come into the pits when you want to, and at random a light is either green or red. If it's red, you have to swing into the garage the FIA have for their weighbridge just to check your weight. And as he said, in the conditions of yesterday, it was all but invisible. There's so many people milling around in the pit lane on practice day. They're not quite as strict as at keeping non-pass holding members of the public and the team out of the pit lane. And he said just simply didn't see the light. There was no reason at all why he would have wanted to miss it, having been at that stage, in fact, fastest. So a real disaster for him. He lost his fast lap time. He ended up 18th quickest on his second best lap time, and then knocked off in the melee. And David, if you start in the midfield, that is very much what is up to happen to anybody, no matter how great or how otherwise they are. If you're in the midfield, it's going to get a bit all knees and elbows, and unfortunately Jörg got caught out really quite badly there. Finished last, 31st, and that's where he'll start on the grid.
Yeah, whatever happens, whenever you're in the middle, that's where all the accidents are. Everyone's desperate to try and move forward, to get up towards the front, to try and show how fantastic a driver they are, and that's where all the accidents happen. We've seen before, you know, how good the racing was at the beginning at the front, and all the drivers with no hassles, they just went out and they raced. A couple of little touches here and there. That's what happens in racing. No problems whatsoever. An absolutely first-class clean race, but further back in the grid, a little bit more difficult.
The FIA World Touring Car Championships with LG. Life is good.
Welcome back to Monza, where the cars are on the grid for round 2 of the 2005 World Touring Car Championship. And at the front of the field, the man who finished in 8th place, fittingly enough, in car number 8, it is Ricard Rydell who will start from pole position. The rules in the World Touring Car Championship, as has been the case in the last few years in the European Series, is that you start race 2 as you finished race 1, unless you finish in the top 8, in which case the top 8 have their positions reversed. 8th goes to 1st, 1st goes to 8th, and the idea behind that is to stop runaway leaders of race 1 equally running away with race 2. If you're really quick and you win race 1, at least you have to fight your way past another 7 cars to run away with race 2, and it seems to have worked pretty well so far. They've decided to keep those rules for the World Touring Car Championship, and David Leslie, it has produced some very exciting races, even in a situation like Valencia last year, let's say, where Alfa Romeos romped away first, second and third. At least in race 2 they had to work a bit for their victory, which gave the fans something else to cheer about.
Yes, it helps make sure that they don't get a runaway victor. What also helps, because you're turning the first 8 around, any of these guys we've said already are quite capable of winning this race. So therefore, the guy who's now on pole position, Richard Riedel with the Seat, he won a race last year, and he's quite capable of winning this race today. So it's not a case of, you know, somebody's going to romp away with it, but someone has the opportunity to be able to win when the grid is turned the opposite way around.
Well, that's absolutely right, and alongside him will be James Thompson, the reigning British Touring Car champion. Riedel, of course, won the Touring Car Championship with Tom Walkinshaw Volvos. Tomo won in 2002 and 2004 with the VXR Racing Vauxhall Astra Coupes. Now, Fabrizio Giovanardi, a former European Touring Car champion, lines up in third place. That's James Thompson's teammate in another Alfa Romeo. Antonio Garcia, who started race 1 in second and had a bit of a fraught time, lines up in fourth position. Fifth place on the grid, Andy Prio, who finished fourth in race 1. And the podium finishers, Augusto Farfus Jr. for Alfa, Gabriele Tarquini for Alfa Romeo, and race winner Dirk Muller are 6th, 7th and 8th on the grid. Behind them, Jordi Canet, Alex Zanardi in Seat and BMW respectively. And as the camera pans from the back of the grid up towards the front, it's already taken in and left Jörg Muller, the man who was second fastest in qualifying, lost his time because of a weighbridge infraction. He didn't go in for a random weighbridge check that he wasn't aware he needed to do. He started in 18th place, got knocked off, came into the pits, finished last. He was 29th and should line up 29th on the grid. 3 cars did not finish. Thomas Klenker we saw pull off in the Ford Focus. Giuseppe Ciro had problems with his BMW away from the grid with a tyre problem. And Vali Makela, the 19-year-old Finn who won last year's British Formula Ford Championship and is now racing a Seat for GR Asia, he also failed to finish. He did 5 laps of the 9. And we now move on to race 2 then. We're in Europe, we're in Italy, we're at the home of Italian motor racing, the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, for the second race of the World Touring Car Championship 2005. 5.79 kilometers of fast tarmac. Alfa Romeo's home track in the championship. Well, Imola could be said to be that as well, but certainly in previous years the powerhouse Alfa Romeos have dominated here at a track that more than anything else demands speed in a straight line. So will they do so again? As David Leslie's already said, Richard Riedel's more than capable of winning a race, but maybe not here. They're just outgunned on pace. Thompson and Giovanardi lining up second and third behind him look to be very definite possibilities for a race win. Gio has only won once in the last 2 years in the European Touring Car Championship. Thompson has won a slew of races in Britain in the last 3 years, but this is his first full season as an Alfa Romeo factory driver in the World Touring Car Championship. David, if he could go away from here with a race 2 win, Tomo would suddenly be very much in favour with the Alfa Romeo team, and it's not that he particularly wants to curry favour, but that boost would be a very strong moral boost for him in what for him at the moment he's quite happy to tell you are fairly uncertain waters.
Yeah, he's very much in the deep end. He is the first non-Italian to be driving a works Alfa Romeo racing car. So in this championship and previously in the European Championship, so he's very happy to be there. Yes, he would love to do well. He wants to do very well. He's a very competitive young man, and you know, he expects to be able to go out there and do as well as any of the other 3 drivers within the Alfa Romeo racing team. So he'll be out there trying his hardest. You can see he was right there. He wasn't far away when it came to the first race. All the Alfa Romeos were up there in the top 8. They still are in the top 8. So he'll be looking forward to try and capitalise on that as much as possible. One of the little things that happened during the winter, there's been a couple of name changes for various teams within the championship, and what was the Auto Delta Alfa Romeo team has now changed its name. It's now known as the Alfa Romeo Racing Team. So for some reason the Auto Delta name has been dropped, and it is purely now Alfa Romeo Racing Team. And also the Ravaglia Motorsport, which is the last world champion that we had in touring cars, that's been changed to Royal Motorsport, taking in the name of the 2 owners, which is Roberto Ravaglia and Aldo Pero. So that's 2 name changes for the championship as such.
And of course here the Bart Mampai Racing team racing this BMW as BMW Team UK as opposed to BMW GB, which the BMW importer in Great Britain has been for many, many years. And Chris Willows, the head of the Bracknell-based operation here, as he has been at so many race weekends in their now 4-year involvement in this Touring Car Championship. So yeah, the Auto Delta name was of course historically the name that Alfa Romeo raced with the Tipo 33s, the Stradalis that won the Targa Florio and the Mille Miglia, and of course with the great GTAs and GTAMs that they raced in the 70s and 80s in the European Touring Car Championship. And that was the name that was taken on by the team running the factory-built Alphas. They're called N Technology, the group that's run by Monica Sips, the team boss, and her husband Mauro, who's the man who very much runs the shop back home. And they took on the Auto Delta name 2 years ago because of its European Touring Car Championship connotations. But now we're in a world market, a World Touring Car Championship. Alfa Romeo and the Fiat Group clearly want Alfa Romeo to be the name rather than Auto Delta, which nobody who doesn't follow European Touring Car racing will have known before. So we've got Seat, we've got Alfa Romeo, we've got BMW in its various guises, we've got Ford, we've got Chevrolet, we're expecting Peugeot to arrive later on in the season. We are also still anticipating seeing the Chinese Brilliance car company, who announced the Team China team last year, to make an appearance. Unfortunately, they've had a bit of a wrinkle in their preparations for the season. The team that they were hoping to do the car development for them for various reasons that we won't go into are no longer able to do so. And of course we've got a whole host of privateer cars as well. Previously on the World Touring Car Championship, Antonio Garcia crashing in morning warm-up with an exploding front brake disc. Started his dramas. He had a dramatic slide onto the grass, getting it wrong in the Parabolica as he was in the middle of the battle in the lead 5. Andy Prio chased the Alphas fruitlessly, coming home in 4th place, but the reigning European Touring Car Champion will have been happy enough with that. Alain Menu having a torrid time in the new Chevrolet, nay, Hyundai Lachetti. Daewoo Lachetti, I beg their pardon. And Dirk Müller, his first World Touring Car pole, his first World Touring Car win. It's already some weekend for the young man from Germany. But he starts 8th. The top 8 reversed from race 1 to race 2. Everybody else from 9th on down finishes where they started race 1. Jam-packed grandstands. They say they've given away over 30,000 free tickets here to various manufacturers to bring fans into this first World Touring Car Championship race. And this is something that the DTM has always done, the German Super Touring Championship, or Super Touring Championship, have always done. The factories have had handfuls, or huge boxes full of free tickets to give to their employees through its various iterations. I think it's a fantastic way to get people who otherwise may not have come to come and get interested in motorsport. And if you can put on a good show and put it in front of people, chances are next year they'll be queuing up for tickets. And that's got to be the thinking, and I hope to see that at all the circuits that the World Touring Car Championship visits this year. We go next to Magny-Cours, then we get to Silverstone and to Imola in quick succession through May, and then the season stretches out in front of us with a host of tantalising races. We go to Spa-Francorchamps, we go to the brand new circuit in Turkey later in the season after they've been to Oschersleben. Can't forget, of course, they're going to Puebla in Mexico in the middle of June. That's going to be scorchio. Valencia in Spain, and they finish off around the streets. The Macau Gear race is going to be the final race weekend of the World Touring Car Championship. David Leslie, you have seen Macau and have heard of all the stories. I tell you what, I can't think of a tougher place to have to take a championship lead and defend it under the sort of pressure that I imagine the championship points leader will have going into Macau.
That can be very, very difficult indeed. You can see here on this, which is a Grand Prix circuit here at Monza in Italy, you've got lots of space. If you make a bit of a mistake, you can run over a curb, you can run over a bit of gravel, you can come back on. When you get to Macau, it is a road circuit. It is like Monaco in that respect. There is amicable barrier right down the 2 white lines that we're looking at now on this circuit. There is no room for error at all. So if you're going there with a very slim lead and you're trying to hold on to that lead for a world championship, you really have to be very precise, very quick, and not make any mistake at all. The slightest mistake will penalise you very hard indeed.
Giuseppe Ciro, we saw having problem with the left front tyre off the grid in race 1. Don't know whether it was contact that punctured it or something else, but he certainly went straight off at the first corner and never rejoined. He will start from the pit lane. Excuse me, Ricardo Rydell leads them round then on this warm-up lap.
And here they are, just warming the tyres up. They're weaving from side to side. They're trying to put as much heat into these tyres as possible. These tyres were in their tyre warmers when the cars came onto the grid. The old tyres were taken off. The nice new tyres with the tyre warmers were put onto the cars. The tyre warmers are left on the cars while the cars are up in the air. But at the last minute, tyre warmers taken off, cars drop down onto the grid. Everyone leaves the grid, so they try and have the tyres with as much heat in as possible when they start the race. But even then, with what heat is still in them, they're weaving. As you can see, every single car on the grid is weaving up and down to try and put heat into it. Another way to put heat into it is to accelerate and brake. And we've seen as they came round that last corner there, Rydell was braking. It actually locked up one of the rear wheels just a little bit on the braking. So braking and accelerating actually puts a little bit more heat into the tyres than what weaving it side to side does. But on this warm-up lap, everybody's going nice and slow, so you can't accelerate or de-accelerate very much. So the only other way to do it is to just weave as much as possible and put heat into it. Remember, these guys are going to set off from here, get to that first corner, somewhere in the region between 160, 170 miles an hour. And, you know, they've got to have some heat in those tyres before they stand on
the guys from the back of the grid are going to be doing that sort of speed. The guys from the front of the grid, perhaps a little less. They'll probably be doing about 110, maybe 120 miles an hour. But on a flying lap, you're right, with the 1 kilometre straight, they'll be touching 170 there and coming down into the parabolica that ends the lap as well. It's not a course for the faint-hearted. Ricardo Rydell on pole, Tomo alongside him, James Thompson, Fabrizio Giovanardi, Antonio Garcia, Andy Priaulx, Augusto Farfus, Gabriele Tarquini and Dirk Muller. That's your top 8. Looking back then as the grid forms up behind Alain Menu, right towards the back will be Jörg Muller. Diametrically opposing results for the two Mullers in the Schnitzer team. One first, one last on the road in race 1. What will race 2 bring? Seat will lead from Alfa Romeo and BMW. Watch the BMWs pull out and come past the front-wheel drive cars as they start. Away we go. Good start from Rydell. Yellow flags already. A stall, and that was Fabrizio Giovanardi. He has not moved at all. I don't think he stalled. Something is. He has moved now. I was going to say something's broken. It took a long time to restart. He gets away just ahead of the safety car and Vali Makela. Rydell leads. Tomo in the middle. Here comes Priaulx around the outside, and he's being brave. Going to have to take to the curbs, and that'll slow him right down. Garcia's coming alongside him, and there's Dirk Muller. So BMW's already ready to gang up on the Seat that leads, and the sole Alfa Romeo between them and Glory. Wow, that was dramatic first corner stuff, and that was just the top 5. Never mind the midfielders. Priaulx with Dirk Muller around side. He'll have to give best into the Roger, but the problem is that Priaulx is going to have Gabriele Tarquini go. Tarquini's gone there. In fact, that's Farfus. Tarquini is next up, and Tomo takes the lead. James Thompson goes by Ricardo Rydell, under braking for the Roger. It's Thompson that leads for Alfa Romeo. Rydell second. Third place is Garcia. Great starting from him. Fourth place is confusion further back through the Roger. A bit of bumping and boring, and that is Tom Coronel coming through. Where is Jörg Muller? That was Jörg Muller, in fact, coming through. Tom Coronel no longer in the BMW Martin. Reset your head for 2005. Jörg Muller making fantastic progress up through the field already, but still, look at the stream of cars. That's one of the privateer Alphas. That is Andrea Lorini's car, in fact, going off there and coming back on through the gravel. And Muller going well, but unfortunately the bright blue colours of Chevrolet marking them out down towards the back of the field. Dirk Muller, this is Andy Priaulx's bumper cam, just a little bit further behind. He's down into 6th position already, really did get shuffled down the pack. Zanardi, Cosiago, Peter Terting, Mark Enrici, the top independent in race 1. Look at that, 4 and 5 abreast coming out of the Ascari chicane. Goodness gracious, and it's only lap 1.
Yeah, these guys really are pushing very, very hard at the moment. I don't know what happened to Andy. He made a good start. He went into that first corner a little bit quick, got himself over the curbs, and had to drop down to 4th. But since then, he's lost another couple of places. Maybe flat spotted the tyre when he went into that first corner, and it started to give him a little bit of vibration. I don't know. But we can see here the cars really fighting each other. But Tomo has just got that little bit of a break. If he can keep himself away and break that toe, as Dirk Muller did in the first race, then he could maybe control this race from the beginning, as Dirk did.
They're coming across the line, 4 and 5 abreast in the midfield. It's absolutely astonishing, the crowd roaring on the Alphas, but there is so much more going on as well. Well, of course, Andy Priaulx got edged away by Dirk Muller, but also the Alpha of Tarquini, Farfus, came past him in that move as well. But there's Giovanardi at the start, stationary. He's way at the back, no points for him from race 2, and Priaulx right down the inside of the number 3 machine, and that is the car of James Thompson. And that is a replay from the start then. Here is the start, as seen from the onboard camera of James Thompson. He's on the left, there goes Rydell. Let's watch this, tucks in behind Rydell, tries to cover the outside line. And Giovanardi gets going but stalled it. Fabrizio Giovanardi, after all these years, still able to fluff a start, and a great start from Priaulx to come round Garcia. Back with the live action, Thompson still leads, and Rydell has let one of the BMWs through. That's bad news for Thompson. Garcia's got past Rydell. Rydell's in 3rd, Dirk Muller 4th, Farfus in 5th, Priaulx in 6th position, shows his nose to the Brazilian. Here he comes down behind the second of the BMWs, and Dirk Muller goes past Rydell. Writing's on the wall for the Seat. Rydell tapped into a spin, he's in the barriers. We saw that with Tarquini last year. There is no coming back from that. He's had a big impact. It'll have rubbished the right front corner, and that's a sad way for Rickard Rydell's Seat race to end. And James Thompson leads, Garcia 2nd, Dirk Muller 3rd, Farfus is in trouble. That is Tarquini coming around, and Priaulx's trying to take the inside line and hold off Tarquini as well. Farfus very slow onto the straight there after that contact, David. Well, Farfus marked himself as a man to be not trusted in traffic last year, with a number of collisions, not the least traumatic of which were with his own teammates. But here comes Garcia. He's got the speed to pull past Thompson. That's incredible. A BMW towing and passing Thompson in the straight line, but he can't hold it under braking. Tomo rock steady under attack. That's great defensive driving from the Alfa Romeo. Priaulx still pushing Farfus through the corner there. Here's the bumper cam with Andy Priaulx in what is now 5th place, chasing 4th, and there is Tarquini trying to come around the outside, and right behind him Hodi Kane is the best of the Seats, then Alex Zanardi, Roberto Colciago leading the next pack, and Tarquini going the long way around Curva Grande. He's got him under acceleration before they get to the Roggia. Can Priaulx come back on the inside? No, the answer is he cannot do that. So Tarquini makes the move stick. Dirk Muller on his own, watching Garcia attack James Thompson. Wow, I thought race 1 was good.
Yeah, this is just non-stop, and Dirk Muller's done really well out of this, starting 8th on the grid, having won the first race. He's kept his nose out of the trouble when people are tripping up over each other. He's got himself up into 3rd, and he's just sitting there watching these two in front, because he knows how desperate Garcia is to have a good result. He didn't have a good result in the first race after having those problems, and Garcia is the one that's really putting the pressure onto Thompson at the moment. So if Muller just sits there and leaves him to it, and hopefully one of the two of them in front will make a bit of a mistake, and Muller will just pick that place up and say thank you very much, I'll take that. And I think before the end of this race he's either going to be 2nd or 1st.
Well, do you know what, he is going quicker certainly than either of those two. Now here is Rickard Rydell being spun out. He got into the corner, and Augusto Farfus Jr. had his nose inside the Seat. Rydell stood no chance there, David, but you can't really say that was deliberately punting him off. The contact was inevitable, but you have got to let these guys race. Tough on Rickard Rydell. I wouldn't be penalising Farfus for that, would you?
Farfus did exactly what he wanted. He got down the inside. He wasn't actually past him. All he was just on the rear corner. Now, he had the opportunity to back out of that and stop an accident from happening. He didn't. He just kept on going until the two cars touched. He was so far back, he wasn't even up to the A post to be able to say at least I was alongside. He wasn't even alongside, he was only on the back corner. It depends upon the stewards of the meeting what they want to say, but there you can see a very disgruntled Rickard Rydell now watching all those cars go past. Started on pole position, had a good position there, was looking for a good points finish. That's what he wanted from this first meeting.
So you say yes, a penalty for Farfus. You say he didn't have the right to be there. Well, there you go. That's the driver's eye view of it. Farfus is in the race though, and Rydell is in the barriers. All change here at Monza live for the World Touring Car Championship. James Thompson still leads. You remember that much, but behind him now Dirk Muller and 2 Alfa Romeos. They all got past Antonio Garcia. Garcia made an attempt at the Roggia on this lap to get past Tomo, couldn't hold it, and then the 2 Alfas got by him. Jörg Muller now right behind Andy Prio and Antonio Garcia, with Hane behind them and Zanardi. Everybody being held up by James Thompson. 9 cars in 2.5 seconds. There's barely room to fit another bodywork set in there. James Thompson leads in the inset in the pretend mirror. You can see Dirk Muller looking for win number 2 here at Monza, but right behind him are Augusto Farfus Jr. and Gabriele Tarquini. Then Antonio Garcia down to 5th from 2nd on this lap and challenging for the lead, and then Andy Prio, and then incredibly from 29th on the grid, Jörg Muller is now in 7th position. 29th to 7 in 5 laps. David Leslie, I'm not sure if that's not record progress, but it's got to be flipping close, and Thompson outbrakes himself and holds on. Thompson now, he's going to be wet, grassy tyres and off line and on the wrong gears. They won't be coming around either side because Dirk Muller is battling Farfus. Well, Farfus is going to find himself edged onto the grass and into retirement if he's not very careful here, because Dirk Muller is not going to be putting up with any rumbustious stuff. Farfus has got the inside line to the Roggia, and Garcia's got past Tarquini. Farfus back up into that 2nd position for the first time. Alphas 1 and 2. Well, Farfus, you put him to blame for punting off Rickard Rydell and Dirk Muller on the inside. It's only what Augusto Farfus did to Rickard Rydell. In fact, that was Tarquini. That was Tarquini, not Farfus. Now Farfus is chasing Garcia. So that was Gabriele on the outside of Dirk Muller. Well, let's have a look again. Well, Muller may be too far behind there. Gabriele Tarquini tried to go for the apex. He was in front, and Muller was not fully alongside him, but in the Lesmos, David, 2 into 1, that's a nightmare. Cars number 7 and 43, Augusto Farfus Jr., and 43 is Dirk Muller under investigation. Well, they don't mean Augusto Farfus, surely, because I didn't see him necessarily hit anybody, but Monica Sips there on the pit wall, and I have to say, in the gravel trap there, Gabriele Tarquini not best pleased with that, but still James Thompson now with a lead. Last time across the line it was 0.09, 900ths of a second that Tomo led by, and now Farfus goes off, puts himself in the gravel. He got a wheel on the white line, which is slippery, onto the grass, which is absolutely boggy as you like, and he has gone way out of the points. Dirk Muller's 2nd, Garcia 3rd, Jörg Muller 4th, Andy Prio 5th. Don't know what's up with Prio's car. I don't know what Jörg Muller had in the 15-minute fix-it break, but I want 2 cups of that, because he is now on the tail of Dirk Muller, who started from 8th, and he started from 29th on the grid with Prio, chasing 3 BMWs, and that car, James Thompson's race-leading Alfa. From 0.09, he was 2.289 ahead after that last lap. He pulled out nearly 2 1/3 seconds on the battle behind him in that one lap, because it all got so fraught.
Yeah, James managed to get himself a nice little bit of a lead when they all sort of fell over at the first chicane. James outbraked himself and took himself straight across the grass and actually came out with a little bit of a lead. And then, because everybody else fell over each other immediately behind that, and then you had to come together with the BMW and Tarquini. And I think that's what's happened on the screen that we looked at, where they said it was car 43 and...
Now they're saying 3, Thompson and 43 under investigation. Well, Thompson was on his own and surely had no part in that. You may think that commentators get it wrong, but really race control ought to get this kind of thing right.
But the race control are looking at all sorts of different incidents. They're probably looking at the incident with the Seat when it went off. They're looking at the incident when Tarquini went off. They're looking at the incident when Thompson straight-lined the chicane. There are certain rules and regulations for straight-lining chicanes, so all these things will be going on. They can impose penalties, immediate penalties, i.e. a drive-through penalty. They can impose time penalties on the actual race itself, and there's various different things. There's actually 3 different penalties they can impose during the race. So we're now going to wait and see what they're going to do as this race carries on.
Also noticing Rob Huff's Chevrolet has gone off. The Chevy Lachetti has gone off on the exit to Ascari. That was the debris. James Thompson still leads by 1.2 from... James Thompson, race leader in round 2 of the World Touring Car Championship for Alfa Romeo, coming under threat from Dirk Muller, the race 1 winner who started 8th on the grid. Antonio Garcia in 3rd place. Jörg Muller from 29th on the grid in 4th position. Andy Prio and Jorge Gené battling for 5th. Prio holds the advantage over the Spaniard at the moment. It was the other way round at the line last time, but it looks as though the BMWs are slowly but surely reeling in the race leader again. On board with James Thompson. There's the external view. Dirk Muller right behind him as they come across the line. 0.01 of a second between them. Here comes Muller. He's going to have to go the long way round. Thompson is nothing if not a savvy driver. He knows when to roll his sleeves up, and he knows when to sit in the middle of the race track and make you go the long way round, the impossible way under braking. From the white line on the right-hand side, he just aims straight at the corner and makes his rival try and outbrake him around the outside and into that first corner. David, you can get around the outside, you can get level under braking, but it turns right so sharply. You've got to be ahead under braking to be able to make the move. And Thompson on the last lap, well, he's got to hold on here. Dirk Muller, one race one, and Thompson drops a wheel onto the gravel, and that may have cost him a little bit. This run down out of the Roccia into the Lesmos. No, the Alfa Romeo keeps its nose in front. Dr. Mario Tyson, and there on the left, Dirk Muller's wife, looking to see if they can get a second win from the man in the number 43 machine. But James Thompson may just be able to hold on here. The reigning British touring car champion might make Monica Sips smile a little bit more than she has been doing so far. It's not been a great race, this second one for Alfa Romeo. Giovanardi stalled on the line. Farfus put himself in the gravel. Tarquini punted out of the race. Well, whichever way you look at it, he's not going to finish. But Dirk Muller now concerned with Antonio Garcia and Jörg Muller with Andy Prio as the BMWs line up to battle each other onto the podium. Down to the Parabolica for the final time. Prio's been passed by Jörg Muller, hoping to get him back, and Thompson is going to be left to win this race for Alfa Romeo as Dirk Muller fights to hold on to second, Jörg Muller fights to hold on to fourth, and Garcia and Prio try and unsettle them. BMW second, third, fourth and fifth. Seat in sixth position, but it's victory in race 2 of the World Touring Car Championship, his first World Championship weekend. James Thompson wins race 2 for Alfa Romeo. He was second on the grid, 7th in race 1, and Dirk Muller, the championship leader with a win and a second place, will take that. Thank you very much. But this is exactly what the British touring car champion needed. Tomo winning a race, the only Alfa driver to do so in the first World Touring Car weekend. Tarquini unfortunately got tapped into retirement in the Lesmos. He had a great chance of winning the race as well. Got ahead of Thompson early on, but then got tangled with Dirk Muller. But David, we've seen Thompson put in gritty performances in the British Championship to win as he liked and to really hold off what looked like superior opposition as well. And that was one of the latter. That was clinging on to the lead with every ounce of his racing knowledge.
Yeah, he got himself in that lead. He had a little bit of a lead. The BMWs and everybody else caught him up, and he just hung on there. As you said, he knew how to make that car as wide as possible. He knew where to position it on the road. He made only one mistake during the race, and that was to cut the first chicane out. So he really hung on there very well indeed, and he will be so happy turning in a win for Alfa Romeo in Italy at Monza. Exactly what Alfa Romeo wanted. There's so many Alfa Romeo fans around this place.
But Antonio Garcia might still end up with maximum points because both James Thompson and Dirk Muller are under investigation by the stewards. Thompson, because as you say, he missed out that chicane or cut the chicane, and right now he didn't make up any places, and that's the general ruling in Formula One. If you miss a chicane and make up a place, you're in trouble. In this championship or in a European series, we've seen drivers miss a chicane under braking, make up a place, and then wave the driver back by in front of them to avoid a penalty. Tomo was the leader. He didn't make anything up, but he and Dirk Muller under investigation, first and second. Race 2 winner James Thompson for Alfa Romeo. BMW won race 1 with Dirk Muller. Alfa Romeo win race 2 with new boy James Thompson, his first race as a factory driver. Mauro Sips there in the jacket, and Monica, who sits on the pit wall and directs the racing, congratulating him for that victory. Well done, Tomo. The boy from Yorkshire done good, didn't he? Newcomer to the team against established stars like Gabriele Tarquini. The speedy young Augusto Farfus Jr. and of course the man who has won everything there is to win with the team, Fabrizio Giovanardi. And it's Tomo who wins their first race of the championship. And I'm not quite sure what Monica Sips is whispering to him, but I'm sure we'll be able to find out later on. We'll get a chance to catch up with him quickly before they go onto the podium. So James Thompson, Dirk Muller second, Antonio Garcia third, Jörg Muller 29th to 4th. 25 places he made up in race 2. Goodness gracious me. Andy Prio in 5th, Hodi Kane in 6th, Alex Zanardi 7th, Fabrizio Giovanardi 8th despite stalling on the grid, Augusto Farfus 9th despite going through the gravel at the Parabolica, and again top independent Marc Enerici, the German in the BMW. Well-proven package, produces the goods again. He just beat Alessandro Balzan, and the Czech driver in 3rd place in the Independence Trophy in his Alfa Romeo, Adam Lacko. So that's a very good result for him. Alessandro Balzan last year in an Alfa Romeo, this year in a Seat Toledo Sport. So that's a good result for him as well. First race as an independent in that Toledo. But all about James Thompson, race 2, got into the lead and held on as, well, everything broke loose behind him, David. Kept a cool head despite the slightly sweaty countenance now, and that's what was needed, really. To win that race, he had to hold on. He had to hold on against a lot of very different challenges, and hold on he did.
That's what we said earlier on about turning this grid around. Any one of these people can win a race, and he was 7th in the first part. The first race, he was turned around, he was on the front row for the second race, and there it was, he made it work. He got himself into the lead ahead of Rydell, and he managed to stay for the whole of the length of the race, and yeah, that was really good for him. He's going to be so happy. Alfa Romeo, to have the win at home in Italy, just tickle pink, and they're all jumping up and down. Lots of people waving out the grandstand to say what a fantastic job they've done.
Yeah, swarming through the tunnel to get into the paddock as well now, and waving in through our commentary box window. So further back, Vali Makila, 19-year-old Finn, 13th in his Seat. That will very much please the GR Asia team. They'll be very pleased with that indeed. Peter Terting, the factory newcomer in the Seat team, dropping down the order a little in 17th position. At Vali Makila, that was a good race from him. He had a bit of a torrid first race, but the second one was fine. Augusto Farfus Jr., well, it's never far from the excitement, is he? And Antonio Garcia as well, he had a bit of a drama time as well, and may yet come out with the points from the race. Dirk Muller leads the series at the moment on 18 with a first and a second. James Thompson second in the championship at the moment with 10 points for that victory, and 2 for 7th place in race 1. But as we said, Dirk Muller and race winner James Thompson both under investigation by the stewards for race 1. Dirk Muller for this clash with Gabriele Tarquini. Now he'll call it 50-50. He'll say, I was on the inside, where can you go? Tarquini was saying, what do you expect me to do? Straight line and just go off into the gravel. Here's Tomo.
James Thompson, first of all, congratulations. First victory for Alfa this weekend. Tell us a little bit more about this second race.
Well, it was a fantastic race. Well, certainly from where I was at anyway. I had a great race with Dirk. I mean, the first race was a little bit disappointing. Obviously, the second race, the reverse grids, I'm sort of reasonably familiar with that from the BTC last year and the ETC races that I did. And I thought, after the first race, okay, we'll take 7th place and we'll start second on the grid, and then we'll have a real push for that second race. But I wasn't expecting to see Dirk in the mirror so soon, and we had a fantastic race, culminating with us both trying to outbrake each other into the first chicane. But yeah, it was fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, you did have a pretty Harry moment with a big break. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, you know, the straights here in Monza are so long, and the slipstream that the cars get from one another make it very difficult to break away. And Dirk got alongside me going down the straight and almost pulled in front, and I just tried to keep with him, knowing that he wouldn't be able to go around the outside. And we both left our braking too late and both went straight on. But that's what happens when you're on the limit.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Very valid comment. It was good, close racing, entertaining. He's thoroughly enjoyed his first World Touring Car Championship weekend, and you've got to let these guys race. And if they race wheel to wheel and one of them misses a chicane a little bit, then you've got to judge it on its merits. Runner-up then, and winner of the first race, Dirk Muller.
Dirk Müller, this is an amazing start to this season. 2 podiums in one day. You must be feeling pretty good right now.
Well, I don't know what to say at the moment. I mean, first and second and pole position yesterday. I mean, fantastic season start to the WM. What to say? I mean, that was an exciting racing in the second race. I cannot remember to have such a race even in Monza. I mean, obviously I was much quicker, but I couldn't manage to overtake. And James was really doing his job perfectly, and he was defending like hell, but even straight and fair. And I mean, my car is bumped all over the place. I mean, I have a big hole on the right side, I have a big hole on the left side, so many people were just not breaking that point and were crashing into my car, but I managed to finish even the second race on the second place. I'm happy, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that's the new face of the World Touring Car Championship, Robin's racing boy, and I think we'd all better get used to it. Couple of unfortunate incidents taking drivers out that perhaps should have finished, but there you go. Antonio Garcia, in the end, taking the final podium spots. Let's have a listen to what he made of it.
Antonio Garcia, earlier on you had quite a big accident, so are you very happy to be here on the podium? When you had that accident this morning, it looked like you were a little bit hurt.
Yeah, this morning was a little bit tough because actually on the first flying lap, one front disc exploded, so I managed to don't do a really massive crash, but then the guys did a really good job to manage to have a real good car that I have in both races. And both races were really tough, especially the second one. I couldn't manage to beat Thompson. I was really faster, but I could not do it. I just stayed there and there was no way.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this second race? It was quite eventful. It was even Jörg Müller who was trying to overtake you and did at one point, and then you did, so a little bit more?
Yeah, it was really, really tough. I don't know how many positions I have changed through the race. I just wanted to be first in the first laps. To make a little bit gap between Thompson and me and the others, and I tried as tough as I can, but I could not do it.
Thank you.
Well, pretty exciting stuff from all the front-running drivers, and I have to say, all the way down the field, so much going on at the front. You had to be in the grandstands to see what was going on further back. Just not enough TV cameras to cover it all, and even the onboards adding to the action. David Leslie, then, first weekend for the World Touring Car Championship. BMW won, Alfa Romeo won, Seat very close indeed. Pretty much what we expected from the front runners, but an awful lot of scratching of heads and thinking to do for some people, I think.
Yes, a lot of people further down, the other manufacturers who've just come into this championship are realising just how difficult the World Championship for touring cars actually is, and these guys at the very front, these guys are up on the podium, they think it's absolutely fantastic, and it is. They've done a phenomenal job this weekend. The top 6 cars came across the line in the second race, one after the other. And nobody had a big advantage. Everybody here with the slipstreaming that was going on was right up there, nose to tail, as they went across the line. You couldn't get a much closer, much more exciting race than you have here in the second race, the WTCC.
Interesting to hear both BMW drivers on the podium saying that they were quicker than the Alfa Romeo, but they still couldn't get by. We know Alfa's a variable width when they're under attack. We've seen it from every Alfa driver that's ever raced in these things. They are very good under defence. They've clearly got great grip and great brakes. Now the national anthem for James Thompson, winner of race 2. So as the national anthem of Great Britain rings out for James Thompson, Alfa Romeo driver from Yorkshire. There's a phrase you don't hear that often, do you? The winner of race 2. As he said, race 1 not quite as fruitful for him as he'd hoped. He was in 7th place, but that left him on the front row for race 2. And with these reverse grids, that gives you a real shoe-in of a chance. And that chance James Thompson took with both hands, deposed the pole sitter Rickard Rydell, and clung on for a further 8 laps to the lead that he had worked so hard for. And as a result, goes away from here, second in the championship behind that man. A pole, a win and a second. It could barely have been a better weekend for Dirk Muller. Barely have been a better weekend for James Thompson either. The Alfa Romeo driver that won here in the opener of the 2005 World Touring Car Championship at Monza. So Giovinazzi, Tarquini and Farfus have got some catching up to do to their young British teammate in the points, and everybody will be chasing Dirk Muller as they head in a fortnight's time to Manicourt in France. Another Grand Prix track, wide and fast, but a very different kettle of fish for touring car racing. On the left there, Marc Enrici again taking the Independence Trophy, a perfect 20 points for him to lead the field. No wonder the 20-year-old from Germany looks happy with his weekend. Well chosen tool, the 320i. It's a very well developed race car. The Independence Trophy has been won in the last 2 seasons by BMW drivers, and as our trio, indeed our quartet, go to show their trophies to an appreciative crowd, pit lane full of mechanics, a very positive tick in the plus points column for the World Touring Car Championship opener 2005. So it's going to get very busy as well. 2 weeks' time we're in Manicourt, a fortnight after that at Silverstone, a fortnight after that at the Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari at Imola. And then the cars will be shipped off to Mexico, to Puebla, and immediately from there in the middle of June shipped back to Spa, where they support the 24-hour race. From there they go to Oschersleben, then they go to Turkey, then Valencia and Macau in October and November. It's a long way away, Macau, but it's going to come up at these guys in one dickens of a rush. James Thompson then on top in race 2 here at Monza, keeping the Italian crowd happy. I don't think they would have been rushing into the paddock with quite so much fervour in their red caps if BMW had won both races, but it's been a great weekend's entertainment. Don't forget, later on during the week, you can see the highlights in the World Touring Car magazine. Be bringing that to you on Eurosport in the middle of the week. Highlights tonight of the FIA GT Championship as well, as the motorsport continues to come thick and fast on Eurosport. And of course, Rally New Zealand has finished, but there's more motorsport tonight with an American slant. They're on the streets of Long Beach as the Champ Car season gets underway. BMW lead the manufacturers' points, the reigning European champions, slenderly ahead of Alfa Romeo, Seat with a good score, Honda and Chevrolet with work to do. Well, let's take a look at the highlights then. Rickard Rydell on pole position in race 2. Great starting from Andy Prio to come past the stranded Fabrizio Giovinazzi around the outside of the Alfa Romeo into the first corner. Action aplenty all the way through the field. Coming up through the order from 29th was Jörg Muller as race 1 winning teammate Dirk battled James Thompson, who'd taken over the lead from Rydell. Thompson actually had the BMW inside and almost ahead of him at one stage, but still fought back. Gabriele Tarquini finished his race in the gravel. Augusto Farfus gravelled but didn't finish his race there. He made it to the end. Giovinazzi recovered. Jörg Muller came from 29th to 4th. Prio held on for 5th. Garcia was 3rd. Dirk Muller 2nd. But the race 2 winner, Alfa Romeo and James Thompson. So next up, Manicourt, May the 1st. That's 2 weeks from now. Then Silverstone and Imola. Get your tickets and get them fast. We'll be back. In the meanwhile, from Martin Haven and David Leslie, it's goodbye for now.